Hi guys, sorry it's been a very long time since my last tutorial. So in this tutorial I will show you some awesome thing. I will show you how you can create this type of section. As you can see, if I hover over to any title, the icon and the content is showing. Also the background image of that particular section is also changing. So I will show you how we can create this without any plugin with some help of CSS and JavaScript. So this tutorial will be a advanced tutorial, and this tutorial will be much longer than my other tutorial as well. So let's get started. So this is a blank page. As you can see, we have a blank page. So first of all, what we need to do, we need to add a section. So this will be our main holder section. So let's make it full width and column gap to no gap. We can also add a class like let's see, main box. And let's save. So this will be our holder. Within this holder we need to add an inner section. So let's add an inner section. So in inner section, let's add a bin height, minimum height of the height you want of this. As you can see, the default height you want of that particular section. So I am giving it to 800. Okay, so great. So let's add a little bit of background color for now, so that our white text will be visible. So I'm adding this gray color. So first of all, as you can see, we have an icon, the title and content. First of all, so let's make this content position to middle, and let's add icon, make it left aligned or centered if you want, then add the title, and lastly add the content. So let's duplicate it and change the color to white color. So as you can see, this is our content. So let's change this color to white as well, make it 36 pixel font, transfer uppercase, maybe change it to design, and let's change this icon color as well. So as you can see, we have icon, title and the content. So first of all, we need to add some CSS class to icon and content, because we will initially hide that icon and content and also add some cool animation. So let's add some class. So I'm giving the class name to Avro icon. You can add any class if you want. I also will add another class so that we can control all of our icon at once. So that class will be maybe Avro underscore hide. So the reason I am giving this class, because we will initially hide all of these icons. So this will be our class for that. And let's select the text, add a class of Avro underscore text, and also the text or content will be hidden initially. So let's add that Avro hide class in here as well. Nice. So let's delete this blank columns and duplicate this 4 times, as we will have 4 columns. So if you want 5 or 6 columns, you can do so as well. Okay, looking pretty good. So then if you notice, if I hover over any title, the icon is coming from the top and the text is coming from the bottom. So let's add some CSS so that we can initially position the icon to something like in here and the content in here. Add some CSS. So let's add some CSS for our icon. So the class of our icon was Avro dash icon. So let's add the class Avro underscore icon. So that we will add some top position to -50 pixels, so that the icon will be little bit of higher than its initial position. As you can see, if we refresh this one, as you can see, the icon is now little bit of higher. Same, we will put this content to bottom section. So let's select this Avro underscore text, the class of our content, that will be bottom minus 50 pixels. So the icon will be minus 50 pixel on top and the text will be minus 50 pixel on bottom. So let's refresh this. As you can see, it's now pushed down. For this, each of this column, let's add class as well. So for this column, let's add a class of maybe Avro box. And let's add another class for individual columns. So for this one, let's add box 1. Let's copy the classes in it and go to the second column. Let's make it Avro box 2. For this one, make it box 3, and this one, let's make it box 4. Let's save it. So each of our column has now particular class and a common class as well. So now what we need to do is, initially we need to hide our icon and the text. So let's hide our icon. So if we remember, we have added a class called Avro underscore hide. So let's target that class to hide everything. So Avro underscore hide. So to hide this element, we will use opacity instead of display none, because it will be easier to animate the opacity. So let's opacity 0, so that won't be visible. And we also need to set position to relative. So now if I update this and refresh this page, as you can see, our logos and the content is now hidden. So now what we'll need to do, if I hover over to any box, that logo and the content must be visible. So we'll add a hover animation in here. So the class of each of our box was Avro underscore box. So let's target that class. So when we hover over on Avro box, the Avro icon will be visible. Okay, so Avro icon. So let's first set the top position to 0. So when we hover to this Avro box, the icon position will be downgraded from minus 50 pixel to 0 pixel. So let's copy this and apply the same method to Avro text as well. Avro text, and let's change it to bottom to 0. So when we hover Avro box, the Avro text will be 50 pixel up, because the initial value was minus 50 pixels. Okay, perfect. Now as all of our icon and text has the Avro hide class, so initially it is hidden. So when we will hover any particular boxes, the particular icon and content needs to be visible. So let's take this Avro underscore box class again, and when we hover, my mistake, that will be hover in here, sorry, hover, when we hover to Avro box, the Avro hide class needs to be visible. So the opacity will be 1. So when we hover to this Avro box, that means each of this particular column, the icon, the content will be visible. Okay, and their position will be changed as well. So if we save this and if we refresh, and if we hover any particular box, as you can see, our icon and the content is now visible, but it's a little bit jumpy and we don't have any cool animation. So as you can see, this, how nice the animation is. So let's add that animation. So in Avro underscore hide, let's add a transition all 0.5 second is in out, and let's save this. And now if I hover over to any particular section, as you can see there is a little animation is happening. That's perfect. So our first stage is complete. So let's jump to the harder and the second step. So the second step will be a little bit complicated, so stay with me. So now we have this animation. So how we can add a background image based on our box. So if I hover over to box 1, the first background will be visible. If we hover over to the box 2, the second background will be visible, just like that. So what we need to do is we need to add some blank section just top of this main section. So let's drag this inner section, remove this column. So the reason we will use this, because we will use this section as a placeholder of this background image. So as with CSS, we cannot just change this background of any particular section, or if I can change this background of this main holder, it will not load initially when website loads. So we'll use a different method. So let's take a blank section in here just top of this main section. So if we have 4 columns, you need to take 5 blank section. If you have 3 columns, you have to take 4 blank section. The reason is, if I check this one, so if I don't hover over any area, there is a default background is visible. So 5th section will hold that particular background, so that background will be visible all the time. Okay, so that's great. So let's add a new section, and in this section let's add some class. So the first one we may add bg_main. So this will be our default background holder, so that will be on top, and we need to add a common class as well. So the common class will be bg_box. So that will be common class for all of our section. So let's duplicate this one. First of all, let's set its g index to 1. Let's duplicate, and rest of them we have to set this z index to 2. So when we change this background image, that will cover the default background image. So let's set it to 2, and let's set this, change this to bg1. Let's duplicate, change this to bg2, and z index to 2, just like other. That will be bg3, and lastly that will be bg4. So let's save this, and if we refresh our page, as we can see, nothing changed. That's awesome. So first of all, we need to, as you can see, each of our section has a common class called bgbox. So we have to set this background image a way that it covers whole area. So first of all, let's add a default background image. So how we can add this default background image? So we'll just take this bg_main, and let's add a background image. I have already uploaded 5 images in here, so just I will use this image as the default background. So just copy the URL and place in here. So if we refresh or save and refresh our page, as you can see, absolutely nothing is visible. That's because the section is not covering entire area, because each of our section doesn't have any element as each of our section has a common class called bz underscore box, so let's take the bz underscore box and let's make the position to absolute. Let's add top position to 0, right to 0, bottom to 0, and left to 0. So everything will be 0. And let's also set some background size and position as well. Background dash size, let's make it cover. Background position, let's make it center. And let's save. So now if I refresh this, as you can see the image is visible, but the content is just behind under these images. So how we can put it back? So let's add a z index of this main section to 3, so that it always goes on top of every wallpaper or background image. And we also need to change this background color, so make it transparent, and we can add a overlay. So let's choose an overlay of black with 0.5% opacity. So now if I refresh this, as you can see it's just top of our background image and it's working perfectly. And if I hover over to this area, the animation is also happening perfectly. So now our main part is done. So for this other section, so how we can make a way that if I hover over to the box 1, the background image will be like image 1. If I hover over to this box 2, how we can change it to image 2? So by default we cannot use only CSS to make that. We need a little bit of JavaScript code. But before that, let's set the CSS for each of these backgrounds. So our first section was bz1, so let's take this CSS and set the background image. Just copy from here for bg main, paste it in here. So for the bz1, this will be our background image. Okay, so let's change this with this one. So this will be our background image for background 1. Same for other as well. So let's duplicate it 4 times. So this will be bz2, 3 and 4. And let's change this image as well. So for each of our section, the background is now set. If we refresh this, as you can see, the main background is now not visible because this index of main background was lower than our other section is. So let's add some jQuery so that if I hover over any box, the background changes automatically. So how we can do that? That is very simple. So first of all, we need to hide all of this background. Okay, so for this bz box, let's change this opacity to 0 because by default it should be hidden. Every wallpaper should be hidden except the main background. So for the main background, let's add a opacity to 1. Put this main background just below this bz box. Okay, so each and every box opacity will be 0 initially. Only for bz main, that will be initially opacity 1, so that the main image is visible by default and other are hidden. As you can see, now the main background image is visible. So let's add some jQuery code. That won't be very hard. I will provide the code in the description, so don't worry. So we need to figure out a way that if I hover over to box 1, we'll add a class to the first section. Okay, So if I hover over to box 2, we will add a class to second section. Same goes for third and fourth. So how we can do that? That is very easy. So let's first select box 1. So box 1 dot hover. So if I hover to box 1, this code will run. Okay, what will be the code? Let's add a function. So if I hover over to the box 1, the background one will have a CSS. So we'll add a CSS class. So if I hover over to box 1, the background one, so the background one is this section. As you can see, it has a class of busy1. So the background one will have a class. You can name any class. I'm giving it a name of Sean, maybe. You can give it anything. So if I hover over to box 1, the busy background one section will have an additional class called Sean. Okay, great. And let's duplicate this. If I remove our mouse cursor, so let's duplicate this line, and instead of add class, let's make it remove class. So what it does, if I hover over to box 1, first this class will be added, then if I move our mouse outside this box 1, it will automatically remove our class. So this was our jQuery. We just need to duplicate it 4 times, nothing else. So let's make it 4 times. And in this second one, let's make it box 2 busy2. Nice. For the third one, box 3 busy3. Fourth one, box 4 busy4. So we need to add comma in here and the semicolon at the end of each and every jQuery function. So let's save this and let's check it. So as you can see, if I hover over to section, actually absolutely nothing happens. But if I inspect the code and hover in the first area, as you can see, this code is not changing. So that means if I hover over to this first box, jQuery is adding a CSS class to this first section. So let's do something with that shown class. So we have added a class called shown. So what this shown will do? So let's just take this shown class and make the opacity to 1, because all of our BG box was hidden initially. So let's make it opacity 1. So let's save this. So if I hover over to this, any of this box, as you can see, the background image is not changing. So that's awesome. So but this animation is very jumpy. As you can see, the background image is changing like instantly. So we need to add a little animation to the background. So how we can do that? So we already have a transition animation in here. So let's copy this and add it to busy box. Just semicolon here. So now if I refresh this and if I hover, as you can see, the background also has a cool animation. So this is how we can create this type of awesome animation, hover animation with Elementor CSS and some custom jQuery. So I hope you guys like this tutorial, and I'm very sorry about my English. I hope all of you understand my English, and if you like this tutorial, please do share with your friends. and don't forget to subscribe in my channel.